let's begin 5 minutes before the time. This is an event funded by Fundação de Amparo à Pesquisa do Estado de São Paulo. And so we thought that it would be interesting for you to have a presentation about the foundation and its programs, especially its programs. And I'm very happy to have here today with us Professor Hernan Shaimovich. Professor Hernan Shaimovich is a well-known biochemist. He has been provost of research at the University of São Paulo. He has been president of CNPq, National Council of Research. And now he is the special advisor to the scientific director of FAPESP. Thank you so much for coming.
Okay. Yes. So thank you very much for inviting FAPESP. Okay, it's working. So my name is Hernan Shaimovich. I'm a professor of chemistry, and I work at times in FAPESP, as Maria Herminia said. And I was asked to present in English. Well, for those that are coming from abroad, this is Brazil. We're speaking of a country of 207 million people, give or take 2. And in 2016, Brazil was the 9th GDP in the world. It used to be the 7th, then we went down, and hopefully at least we'll maintain the 9th position in 17. So that's Brazil. We are in the state of São Paulo, which, if you wish, is a country within a country. We're speaking of 45 million people, of about 35% of Brazilian GDP, 50% of Brazilian science. And when I use the word science, I mean intellectual new creation, everything. About 13% of the state budget is dedicated to higher education, research and development. And the state of São Paulo invests, that number is a bit outdated. The state of São Paulo invests about 1.7% of its GDP in research and development. Why can we do that? We is the taxpayers of the state of São Paulo. Because we have 3 state universities, we have 4 federal higher education institutions, we have 52 state technical faculties, about 45% of the PhDs graduated in Brazil in that year came from the state of São Paulo. We have 22 research institutes. Of those, 19 are state, 3 are federal, and very importantly, different from any other state, 62% of the public support for research and development comes from state and not federal sources. So what I'm going to do today, fast, because you must be quite tired, I'm going to speak about the science and technology system in São Paulo. I'm going to describe FAPESP. I'm going to say something about international collaboration and then present some highlights. Well, this is the science and technology system in the state of São Paulo. We're speaking about 75,000 researchers in the state, most of them in higher education, but a significant number in companies, in state, federal, and private research institutes, and that's the picture. The amount invested in research and development in the state is about 15 billion PPP dollars. More than 60% is invested by companies, 3.4 by the state government, 2.6 by the federal, and less than $1 billion by private higher education institutions. One thing that this slide is not popular outside São Paulo, okay? Because it says that we, the taxpayers in the state of São Paulo, invest more than 10 to 100 times more money in research and development and higher education than any other state in the federation. And somebody will ask always, well, but that depends on the GDP of the state. Nope. If you divide and take percentages, the picture gets even worse. If you compare the investment of the state of São Paulo with other countries, you get that figure. I don't have to read it for you. You read it faster than I can speak. But you can see that the state of São Paulo invests more in research and development than Spain, for example. And of course, more than many other countries in this continent. We graduate a number of PhDs a year that is comparable to many countries in the world. You can take a look at the curves in that graph. And we have been maintaining half of the scientific production in the country for the last 30-some years. Even though the amount, the quantity of scientific publications of Brazil has increased dramatically over the last 20 years, the percentage that São Paulo contributes remains the same, give or take. And that red line, and this is another slide that I'm sometimes afraid of showing outside Brazil, in Latin America. São Paulo produces more science than any country in Latin America, by far. So, one of the actors responsible for São Paulo doing what São Paulo does in industry, in agriculture, in education, is the São Paulo Research Foundation. And we do that basically because of two features. First, we have a simple mission. Any institution having a number of missions is very difficult to manage and very difficult to see where it goes. We have had a single mission since the creation of FAPESP. And that mission is to support research in all fields. And the other feature that permits FAPESP, what FAPESP does, is that it's funded by the state of São Paulo with 1% of all state revenues. Having one mission and having a constitutionally firm and permanent funding from the state permits FAPESP to do strategic planning long term. We can plan ahead 20 years from now. We don't think that the state of São Paulo will disappear. We don't think that the state of São Paulo will go bankrupt. So we can plan. Now, all proposals for research in any field are peer-reviewed. And that means that we reviewed last year almost 27,000 proposals. We have a very quick turnaround. Somebody will ask, but my project took more. Well, statistics, okay? This is average. A friend of mine said that they're lies, they're damned lies, and there's statistics. Anyway, that's the average time. And the annual budget in 2016 was about 534 million US PPP. Something happened here, but well, I won't be able to. something happened on the way to the forum. That slide said clearly, once upon a time, that we have very different ways of funding science. We have basically three instruments. We have a 2-year instrument, a 5-year instrument, and an 11-year instrument. The 2-year instrument funds regular projects. The 5-year instrument funds thematic projects that have more ambition than a 2-year project. And for a research, innovation, and diffusion center, we have a 11-year instrument. We also maintain industry-university joint research and development with several companies. And in the last 4 or 5 years, we have been successfully creating engineering research centers that are joint efforts from FAPESP, industry, and the university that fund projects for 10 years, 30, 30, 30, with several companies, even one Brazilian company, as you can see. The other program, which is extremely interesting, is the Small Business Research and Development. We've been awarding one of those projects a day in 2017. Okay, back again. How do we spend that money? You can see there, 53% is invested in application-driven research. And when I say application-driven research, I emphasize the word research. And this can be anything from health to biology to chemistry. Almost 40% is dedicated to fundamental science, or if you wish, advancement of knowledge. About 40% goes to life sciences, 37% to natural sciences, and 11% to human and social sciences. And of course, the University of São Paulo, because it's the largest university in the state, takes about 47%. All the others is sort of proportional to the size of the university. This is 2016 numbers. Almost 40% of the investment went to fellowships, 34% to regular grants, and 26% to research programs. By the way, I can be interrupted at any point, okay? And the fellowships and scholarships are divided, as you can read, and certainly you can read if you want faster than I can talk. So there we have the fellowships for postdoctorals, PhDs, masters, scientific initiation for undergraduates, and direct doctorate, and also fellowships abroad. In the world, and in Brazil, there is a utilitarian view about science. Science that makes business more competitive, science that heals the sick, science that makes the poor rich, and we agree that FAPESP has to invest in that type of science. But we also value science that makes mankind wiser. And in all fields, there are fundamental questions that don't necessarily make business more competitive, heal the sick, or make the poor rich, that have to do with philosophy, with politics, with archaeology, with what have you. So we have, in a sense, to define what we mean by impact. We don't count results. we count impacts. And when we say impact, we mean intellectual impact, we mean social impact, we mean economic impact. And all those features are related to ideas. Ideas that produce new ideas, ideas that make humanity wiser, ideas that help to form generation that produce new ideas, or ideas that affect public policies, or ideas that create companies and generate jobs. We are in the business of investing money in people to create impact, intellectual impact, social impact, economic impact. And this is one way of showing that our investment produces intellectual impact. These are just front pages of the best journals in science in the world, showing that somebody in the state of São Paulo published a paper that made it to the front page of any of those journals. This is impact. This is also impact. These are the startups that in 2016, startups started by alumni of Unicamp or professors of Unicamp that produced that year about 3 billion reais in revenues. It's more than the budget of the university. So this is impact. We have special programs that are extremely rich in producing impact. In bioenergy, in astronomy, in avionics, in biology, in social sciences. And I want to spend just a bit of time speaking about the FAPESP industry, university engineering research centers, because these are extremely multidisciplinary. The center is hosted in a university. The PI is always a professor, but the adjunct director is a researcher from the company. Other company researchers can be visiting professors, and they are more than welcome. We have a 10-year contract, 2 to 6 million a year from FAPESP and company, plus all the labor costs by the university. Typical proportion, 1 to 1 to 2. 5 centers selected. We have one with Peugeot Citroën. With GSK, we have 2. With Natura, we have 1. With BG, we have Shell BG, we have 1, 2 in natural gas. All these centers include a social science component. So I'm not going to go to tire you with the description. And now I'm going to speak a bit about international research collaboration. What's the vision? Why do we do? Why do we invest? Years and years ago, I published a paper analyzing the effect of international collaboration on the impact of Brazilian scientific production. And I found the obvious. It's nice when you find the obvious and you can publish it. When Brazilian scientists collaborate with scientists in any country in the world, not only the US or Europe, but some countries in Latin America also, the impact of that paper multiplies by a factor of 4 to 5. So our vision for international research collaboration is a way to make the state of São Paulo a recognized international research hub. And we are very clear that collaboration is two-way, researchers have to come and go, because research in São Paulo is sufficiently competitive to attract very qualified foreign students, postdocs, and scientists. And we're sure that FAPESP is not a travel agency, and that collaboration extends over mobility. We're interested in full projects up to 10 years that stem from the common thought of two people with different cultures and ambitious objectives. And we have several types of international collaboration agreements, co-financing agreements with agencies for research projects, with universities for mobilities, and I must add that the regular programs of FAPESP include the stimuli for Brazilians, students and researchers to travel abroad, and for foreigners to come to Brazil. As you can see, since 2010, if you wish, we have explosively increased the number of scholarships and research projects with international collaboration. Of course, the value has increased at the same rate. And this map that you can hardly see shows that we have agreements all over the world with people all over the world, institutions, research agencies, universities, institutes. There are some blank spaces. It's not easy to negotiate with the Russians. We have tried the Indians, but it's difficult also. In Africa, it's a totally different problem. However, we have good agreements with South Africa. But all over the world, we have had and are still having contacts for increasing our impact for the benefit of the taxpayer of the state of São Paulo. Does it work? It does. The percentage of articles with international cooperation is increasing a lot. We were in a sort of low level, 25% of papers with international cooperation. We're up to 40 now. And the obvious thing that happened is that the relative impact of those same papers increased at the same rate as predicted. The major contributors are US, UK, Spain, Germany, and France, but we have collaboration and good papers and co-authorships all over the world. We have a lot of projects with international collaboration, both academic and applied. And we have an enormous number of opportunities for foreign scientists in São Paulo. We have postdoctoral fellowships for Brazilian or foreign PhDs that include a stipend, support for moving, and plus possible scholarships for 1 year abroad. In 2013, we awarded more than 1,000 of those, and you can find opportunities in our webpage. We also have very important opportunities for foreign and Brazilian scientists in São Paulo with the Young Investigator Awards, because those grants include fellowships, equipment, consumables, travel, and fellowships for students. The average success rate is much lower, is less than 25% today, and we award about 6 young investigators per month. In 2016, we awarded almost 60 young investigators, mostly in life sciences, human and social sciences, not too many, because we didn't have too many requests, and the rest in natural sciences and engineering. So we can have international collaboration by bringing foreign scientists to São Paulo as a postdoc, as a young investigator, as a visiting scientist, São Paulo School for Advanced Science like we're having today, and also São Paulo Excellence Chairs that apply to very, very respected scientists abroad that want to spend at least 3 months a year for the period of 5 years in São Paulo. You can find information in this web page. And one of the nicest things in the FAPESP web page is the devoted to research supported by FAPESP, where if you input any keyword, you will get not only which projects are being financed, which researchers are there, what is the CV of each researcher, and what happens to each area. As an example, I'm going to show the last 3 or 4 slides. This is geographic distribution of public policy research projects currently funded by FAPESP. So you can see in public policy research, we essentially cover the whole state of São Paulo. When you input the name public policy in that web page I showed before, you can see that the interest in public policy is increasing. Not that the candidates are increasingly interested in public policy, but the academic research in public policy financed by FAPESP is increasing exponentially. And if you take a look at grants with the keyword democracy, you can see the same type of increase over the last years. Unfortunately, none of them is a candidate for the Senate or the lower chamber or the presidency. But anyway, we're trying. And with that, I thank you.
Hello, I'm from Duke University in the United States. I think we work on a few things with FAPESP.
It's difficult to understand.
Duke University.
Duke, okay.
Yeah, I think we're working on a few things with FAPESP right now. Anyway, I was wondering, because I was noticing that there was a substantial imbalance when it came to the Ciencias Humanas. And I was wondering what initiatives, if any, have people come up with? Or is it in the working to have, even if you need to, a different sector that deals specifically with humanities? Because it seems like through this process, not that many humanities proposals are getting through. Thanks.
Oh, it's very simple. You have to speak with the colleagues in the humanities and social sciences, because we are a very flexible institution, and we react, and of course we plan, but we react. Every project, every program is a combination from top down to bottom up. So if we, as I showed, there was an interest in democracy as a keyword, and FAPESP responded. So it's not that FAPESP defines, we will give 11% to the humanities. We respond to the pressure, and of course we analyze together with the researchers in the area the need for programs. So I'm going to make one thing very, very clear. That percentage is not derived from an order from above. We will only invest 15 or 11. It's basically what is the demand, which is qualified, and what is the reaction of the foundation. Did I make myself clear?
Speaking to the mic, please. We are recording this, so it's important to...
Okay. So no, just a quick follow-up. I wasn't saying that it was implying that it was imposed from above, but in terms of, yes, humanities people maybe need to seek out more creative ways of making grants, but on the other hand, what, in terms of your own like annual evaluations or whatever, have you found any causal reasons for why there may be a shortage of humanities applications, if that's what is causing the low percentages, or have y'all looked and said, oh, we can jiggle with this criteria or that criteria in the language to make it more universal, or you just don't know?
No. Those are two separate problems. The percentage of success of a project in that area is exactly the same as the percentage of success in any other area. So that is not the problem. We have, of the 17 centers that have a 10-year funding, 2 are typically and only of humanities and applied social sciences. So, as I said, the percentage of success is the same. I must agree with you in one thing. FAPESP has not started a program to increase from top down the demand. We think that is a problem of the area. Okay?
May I ask you something? Could you talk a little bit more about the interdisciplinary programs you mentioned? They are a tiny percentage of the programs, but anyway, they are important. In which areas, what are the interesting interdisciplinary programs in FAPESP, funded by FAPESP?
Let me speak about 4 or 5 of those. One is climate change, which involves the humanities, physics, mathematics, chemistry, and the works. The other one is biodiversity, which again involves from mathematics to language. The other one is neurochemistry and brain disease, that involves from teaching to high-level magnetic resonance. The other one is astronomy, which is totally interdisciplinary. We have a list. I can't remember everything, but we have several programs that are highly interdisciplinary. In addition to that, we have an interdisciplinary area to analyze projects that are interdisciplinary by nature. So we have a separate area of evaluation that looks at interdisciplinary projects.
Okay. Questions?
I have a curiosity on the impact of FAPESP in Brazilian level, because I had my PhD funded by FAPESP here at this university, and then I went to work in a university in Ceará. And it's interesting to note that many people there in other regions of Brazil don't know what FAPESP does, and even people don't even know that they can do a PhD or a postdoc funded by FAPESP at São Paulo, even in the cases that in their areas, the main centers or universities are here in São Paulo. So what does it mean in terms of the recognition of FAPESP in national level?
I'm afraid I don't understand very well your question, because in my experience, and I've been around Brazil, all the state foundations, all of them, know FAPESP very well. Because even in Ceará, okay? the state, because of FAPESP, in the early and late 80s, FAPESP was the only state in Brazil that had a state foundation to support research. And FAPESP, when the Brazilian Constitution was being written, FAPESP went around Brazil trying to convince all the states that having a state foundation to support research was an important move from the government, from the state government. And I must say that we succeeded. Every state in this country has a state foundation. Every foundation that supports research is very aware of FAPESP, and the problem is that the São Paulo state constitution is a constitution. And in many other states, the thing is that the foundation is in the constitution, but the constitution is a suggestion and not a constitution. Having said that, the responsibility lies strictly on the shoulders of the universities in the state of São Paulo that should have a much bigger impact in attracting students from Brazil. And I can say that very, very easily because I tried to do that. Now, it's not easy for somebody outside São Paulo to have a full PhD in the city of São Paulo. São Paulo is a difficult city. However, in other universities in the state of São Paulo, situation is much better for a student that comes from outside the state because life is cheaper and the amount of funds for each scholarship permits a reasonable living for somebody doing his own PhD and coming from outside the state. The foundation relies on the local state foundations for that type of initiative. It's politically delicate for the State Foundation of São Paulo to go to Ceará and to tell the people you should come to São Paulo and we will only accept your best students. It's a touchy situation politically, but all the foundations in this country know FAPESP very well, and they exist because of FAPESP.
Any more questions? Well, thank you so much for coming, and it's a pleasure. And at this moment also, I should be thanks to FAPESP for the opportunity of having this school. Deixa eu te contar.